Hi everyone and welcome to our channel. My name is Star and this is my husband,
Felix.
and we'd like to welcome you guys to Hadessa's Garden. We decided to make this channel for you guys because the Lord saw fit for us to share our testimony with you and to basically go over and reiterate the importance of having a bond and sustaining your bond in your union and in your marriage. We are living testimonies that if you do have a secure bond in your marriage, that you can basically make it through anything,
Absolutely.
any trials, any tribulations. We do want to give you guys a bit of our backstory. We have been together for over 10 years and we've been married a little over seven.
Right.
A little over 7 years. We have 3 beautiful children, and we are currently in a transitional phase where we're basically back to the beginning. And the Lord saw fit to bring us back to our beginnings for a reason. So we do want to start by going into the Word. The verses that we'll be going into today is 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And we pretty much want to cover that whole chapter and give a bit of insight on it, okay? So it reads, "Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and unlike also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband hath no power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one another, except it be with the consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your inconsistency. But I speak this by permission, and not of commandment. For I would that all men were even as myself, but every man has his proper gift of God, one after this manner, and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them to abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. And if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. And if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest I speak, not the Lord. But if a brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath an husband and believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God has called unto peace." I actually want to just stop right there for a little bit, because there was so much in those 15 verses that needs to be gone over, because the understanding, and let's make sure that there's a blessing is added to the word that we just read over. It's so much to go over in those verses alone. First and foremost, I would say that when it comes to joining together with anyone, period, as it relates to a relationship. Now, we do know what's common in the world at this time is dating, right? Everyone is dating. We have so many dating apps. The way that the internet has made things so easy and convenient for people to hook up. I feel that the Lord is saying that we need to go back to the basics and to the structure of how he had it from the very foundation. And that is for one man to be with one woman. Courtship. That's a good point that you brought up, babe. That's another thing that is not very universal, but it seems to work even back in the biblical days, when it comes to courtship. Now, with us in our relationship, when we started out, we didn't have a foundation as it relates to God. God was not in the middle, as far as we could tell by the way that we ended up getting connected together. I had just been dealing with a church that I was involved in and dealt with some church hurt, and I was basically put out of the church. But while I was there, I was under very strict courtship laws where I couldn't even court anyone, almost to a sense where I just wasn't allowed to, for whatever reason. And I had all of that built up with wanting to have a companionship with someone, and was waiting on God to join me with that person. And for whatever reason, they decided to release me from the church. So after I left the church, I came back to the town that I was living in before I moved to New York. And I came back to Miami, and I was able to, or I would say we ended up linking together. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a decision of ours, right?
It was through one of my cousins.
Right. We had a mutual friend. Well, it was my friend and his cousin that I knew from high school. And we also went to the same high school together. And we saw each other in passing. Little did I know, I had no idea that you felt that you had a crush on me or you admired me. Do you want to chime in on that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. You can obviously tell my wife is very beautiful. That was the main attraction. As far as, us men, we want eye candy. But it was more depth to that. It's how she carried herself. Like a lady. So I always admire her. She was very how she carried herself. Very pretty. Things of that nature and such. So it was a point where my cousin reached out and was saying, "Hey, Star is coming in town. Can you pick her up from the airport?" I was like, "Whatever I'm doing, I'm dropping it." So, get to know each other and basically date, and the rest is history.
This is true. But to go back on to the topic at hand, when we got together, right? We were young. We was basically just doing our own thing. We had no sense of direction as it comes to a relationship. All we knew is from our first date, we was at Red Lobster, and we were talking for hours. I mean, hours. I can't even tell you what we was talking about. I don't remember what we was talking about, but instantly we knew that we were missing pieces for each other in some form or fashion. We couldn't put a finger on it at that point, but we connected on levels, and not just good levels. It seems that there was something lacking, and something like a pull for both of us that we could feel for each other.
It's funny that you mentioned that we were bits and pieces we were lacking. So I felt like, I need a woman, I need a kingdom wife. If I'm gonna have kids, it's gonna be with one wife. I actually prayed for you, and we talked about this a whole bunch of times, vice versa, and it's just the connection. Because when I say I prayed for my wife, just laid right on my lap, and I took advantage of the situation, and we've been together since.
But wait, I just realized that too, because while I was in the church, I so desperately wanted to be married, because growing up, that was the thing that I always said, like being from a small town like Belle Glade, right? All of the guys had aspirations to be some athlete of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. For the women, honestly speaking, we didn't have much to like aspire to be other than being a wife and a mother, right? So I definitely knew I wanted to be a wife, and I definitely knew I felt the most comfortable in a servitude position. Not to say to be someone's slave, but I know that I could give more being a helpmeet than trying to do things on my own. So now that I think about it in retrospect, like I was really praying for you too, and I'm just realizing that, like, wow, okay. So we got together, and with getting together, it was those things where you get together and you just like clingy, like together all the
day,
time.
every day.
And it didn't bother me not one bit. It didn't bother me one bit. I refuse to let you go. So we we bucked up into a situation where exes got in the middle, and we had to realize that no one can come in the middle of our relationship without us opening that door. So it's very important when your partner tells you that something is lacking that you take it 100% serious, because it may not be a big thing for you, but that's just an open door for Satan to come in and just have havoc over everything. And once he have that one door open, it opens doors with everything in your surrounding. So what we had to realize is we couldn't let outside. We had to nip things in the bud right then and there. We learned that years later. Had we known this beforehand, like I think we still would be here because we're still together stronger than ever. But the point that I was running into was we have to make sure that we leave no doors open.
Right.
Because that can destroy your union when you have any door open.
Absolutely.
So basically, the door was left open on my end, and an ex was able to come in with my permission. So we had issues, but I went to my mom's house, and I was begging and pleading. I was like, Mom, you have to talk to him. He's coming over. Please plead my case to him, because I know this is the person God wants me to be with. I know this is the guy for me. I've never felt this way about anybody else in my whole entire life. Like, I know this is the guy for me.
Oh, thank you.
You came over, we talked, and then we were back. It was like nothing had ever stopped. We was back thick as thieves together 24/7. We moved in very quickly. With all that love and caring, we got pregnant very quickly.
I think it was 3 months.
3 months into our relationship, our daughter was conceived. 3 months in. So what we didn't really get to do is complete that courtship phase. Even though it was 3 months, 90 days is typically the time that it takes to get to know if this is the person for you, and to get that dating in there, to have that time together just for you, which technically we did.
Yeah, because it was nonstop. On the
Technically
phone,
we
late
did.
night. It wasn't too much room for us not to be around, because it's like, oh, I miss talking to my girl, or I miss talking to my man. So it's like we talked all the time and hung out all the time. So
We did, baby. I think it's just, I think what I'm meaning is, like, we didn't get to have the honeymoon phase.
Right.
Like, not even honeymoon phase,
Mhm.
but that time just for me and you to have me to yourself. And the baby came so quickly. We didn't
Right.
get to travel. We didn't get to do like the blueprint that, the world says, okay, this is how it goes. This stuff,
Right.
this. We didn't get to do that. So in the back of my mind,
it wasn't planned.
it wasn't all the way orchestrated the
Right.
way that it should have played out. But hey, we don't know what God's plans are.
Yeah.
So we were together. We was definitely together, and we was rocking out. But another thing that was there, we had our little bit of toxic, because we were both very possessive people.
Oh yeah.
Very possessive, very strong-minded. We both are very strong-minded people.
We had a power struggle.
power struggle. I was raised by very strong women. There was a lot of women in my family. One grandmother had 10 children. So I had 5 aunts on that side, and then on my mom's side, it's majority all women. So I was used to seeing like women dominating. I didn't really see a lot of roles where the men was like the head.
Control.
So I didn't really have that example.
Came to financial stability. When I needed something, he was always there with money. Anything I wanted, basically. And I had a conversation with my dad, which we were speaking of breaking generational curses. With my dad growing up, his dad didn't show him any love. Maybe once or twice where he told my dad he loved him. And I had a conversation with my dad, and I was like, I know your upbringing, you know, how you was raised, totally different. With his dad didn't give him anything. He tried to give me everything that I wanted because he wasn't receiving that from his dad. So, you know, it's breaking generational curses because I acknowledge and I see that with my son, and I even tell my dad, you know, I can count on one hand how many times you said, I love you. But I tell my sons every day I love you before they go to bed. So it's breaking that generational curse, you know.
My upbringing was similar, but not quite, because my parents was young. My parents was very young when they had me. They were both in high school still. So my mom was very young, but her mom was also very young when she had her and was married. I believe my grandmother was 14, 15 when she was married and had her first child, of which my great grandmother raised my mother, and my great grandmother also raised me. So it wasn't a guy's dynamic in the picture, but I didn't miss any love. The love was there, the structure was there, but the man part of the upbringing, it did lack. Now, did I have role models and mentors under my uncles? Because they showered me with love. I could never say that I didn't have any love, because I had love. But when your parents are not present, you are going to have those abandonment issues. You are going to cling to anything that appears to be a male model in any aspect of your life, because you've been longing for it for so long. So I would say in the past, I was latching on just at anything, a glimpse of a male figure in my life, which could have brought on things that fed trauma that I wasn't realizing and brought into our relationship. So I think I put a lot of pressure on you to fill shoes where you didn't have the basis or the structure to fill. So that was a door, basically, that I had brought in that was open, having these expectations of you when you didn't have the tools to fill that for me. So I think that was like one of the spots in our relationship where we was kind of shaky. We didn't have a good foundation on that. And the fact that we didn't start out with a bond or acknowledgement of God's presence. Because me dealing with the church hurt part, my faith was just completely broken. Like, I couldn't even open the Bible. It was to that level. So if we were to ever have any issues, even though I got all of this knowledge about God, I couldn't bring it to you as your helpmeet of what I had in me this whole time. This whole time it's been there. But I wasn't releasing it because we had that door open and Satan utilized it. That absence was there. So anything out in the world that could entrap us, babe, it got us. You know, it got us. Like, even the small things of infidelity. Not to say that infidelity is a small thing, but where it was common in our relationship was companionship or having that person to hear you out. Because we were so busy being at each other's neck and being right and proving a point like, you need to change this, you need to change that. We were projecting on each other because we were both lacking in the same area. We didn't even realize we were lacking in the same area, and didn't realize that we could have poured into each other with prayer and putting God in those spots. That's what we are learning now, and why we are feeling so much fulfilled.
Feels amazing.
In our marriage, because we have God there now. He's rebuilding us all the way over again. Like, he brought us back to our foundation. When we first got together, we were at your mom's house, right?
Yeah. And to chime in, you know, with the whole praying for wife, praying for husband, when we wasn't getting it right, we both agreed, let's put God in, you know, in the forefront. And it's been working out. And it's like, you know, that bond, that connection we have, the spiritual connection, it's real and it's strong, because we both agree, like, hey, we're gonna figure this out, but God has to be,
even when we wasn't realizing it. Like, we was working, I mean, we was operating in the flesh 100%. But even when we argue, babe, even when we fight, when we was going through everything, we still couldn't be apart. A day couldn't go between us where we were apart. We were either talking, we were still up under each other, mad and all. And that's another thing, not to hold on to anger for a long time, because once that festers again, you're opening a door.
Life is too short. Just focus on loving your partner. Don't go to bed angry with your spouse. You know, don't go to bed upset.
That's easier said than done.
Just it's been working for me.
It's
But
easier
it
said
is,
than done.
it is, but you gotta pray. If you feel like you're gonna, you know, your mindset's gonna shift, or you're gonna get angry, you identify it. You go to pray. Drop down on your knees and pray. You know, that helps a lot with prayers.
And you know what else along with the prayers? The petition and fasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we did when we did a fast, by way of the Lord spoke with and convened with our pastor, Jamila, and her husband, Mr. Fred Gooden. We did a 10-day covenant fast where we only ate raw vegetables, no seasoning, vegetables, no fruit. This was only vegetables and water. I couldn't really do the vegetables that good, but I definitely juiced. So I juiced the vegetables, and I was able to make it those whole 10 days, praying and petitioning to the Lord about my marriage. And he brought us around. He definitely brought us around, but it takes that union. That bit right, as long as we can hold on to that little bit right there.
You both gotta want it. You both
gotta have it. God got the rest. God got the rest. You just gotta make sure that you have that solidified bond there. And that's where I mean, like, you can overcome the toxic with including the Trinity. Once you got the Trinity in the middle of you, in the head of you, it ain't no stopping. It ain't no stopping the union at all. And I know here recently everybody is feeling that there's been an exceptional pull on marriages and relationships, like where it's one person feeling completely neglected, and the main thing is about money, financial things. It's not worth it. You have to weigh your options when it comes to that, because money comes and goes. Your relationship and your union is way more important than having money. That's one thing I had to learn as well, because we had pretty much everything we wanted, right? We had the cars, We had the nice place. We had houses. We done had nice luxury apartments. We had structure, but we still were not fulfilled. We still weren't happy. In all actuality, I was depressed. I was living in depression because I wasn't feeling like I was living in my actual purpose whatsoever. And it was taking a toll on everyone. The kids, you, my work relationships. I was basically like a functional alcoholic, trying to self-medicate, and it was doing no good. It wasn't until I had to humble myself and go back to God and ask Him, Lord, please help. I can't take this anymore. And I feel in a way He pulled towards me to get me to be like, girl, you can't do this by yourself. I done let you run amok. Now it's time for me to take over, because I know the purpose I have for you. I know the will that I have for your marriage and your relationship. And it's time to get on board. And at this point, He's just like, I got this. You got to follow me now. I gave you your time. Now it's my time. And He's making sure that He's leading us in every aspect. And we've been doing nothing but fulfilling our purpose so far. I've never been this happy in all of my life. And God is the complete reason why. So if you're feeling that inadequacy in your relationship, if you're feeling like you're in the verge of depression and there's no one there for you, that's all in the devil's plan, to get you to that point where you're in a depression where he can run amok.
To keep you down.
All you have to do is go to the Lord and He'll be there. He will definitely pick you up. I dare you to try it. Just go to Him and let Him know, Lord, I want you to have your way in my life. I see that my way is not working out. Less of me and more of you, Father. I know it's not going to be an overnight process. However, have your way. Take over. Give me your spirit. Give me understanding on what I'm doing wrong so I can know how to try to strengthen myself. Give me strength. Because that's what we have to pray for the most, is strength. Because once you do ask for God to take over, you're going to start noticing those battles. That warfare is going to be something serious, especially for couples. Especially for couples. When I say you're going to have everything come at you, but the thing about it is God will always give you a safety net. He will always give you a way to overcome the evil with good. Trust me. You just have to be open-minded enough to listen and be obedient and not try to do it your way. When the answer is not coming fast enough, that doesn't mean that you go and try, well, I think He's saying this. No, ain't no thing. You will know when He's saying something. You will know. And another way that you would know is it's not going to work out. I'll give you an example. I wanted some candy. Well, we were supposed to be fasting, right? I wanted some candy so bad. I went on every aisle to find that candy. And when I did find the candy, they were all broken. Broken. If it's something you wanted to go get some food or some sort and you're in the middle of a fast, He'll make sure that place is closed. He'll make sure He'll block off traffic where you have something else to get to and you can't even stop to that place because He done blocked it off. He's gonna block it off if it's not His will. So once you see that roadblock come, don't try to jump over it. Don't try to go underneath it. Just stop.
Acknowledgement, like, I know this is God.
You know this is God. I know you saying no. And the same way, He will let you know when something is a blessing that He is giving you. I just have to come to you first. I can't just take things into my own hands. I have to come to you first. And once you see that confirmation even just makes you feel so much joy because He's that close. you see that you have that much access to him in his spirit. Like that enough for me was just like, wow, you know? So I mean, it's things like that. And there go our butterfly. You know, we always see that butterfly either when we're working, we're doing business together, and that is a confirmation for me that we're doing the right thing right now.
Absolutely.
We're doing the right thing because thank you, Lord. So basically, unity, the unity in your relationship, that's what's gonna hold everything together. And right now it may be hard, but go to God. Take it to God. Decide, okay, this is the person I'm gonna be with. Parents, we love y'all, but there's a hierarchy when it comes to God, right? So when God used the example of Christ being the head of the church, Christ is the head of the church, and Christ is also the head of the man. The man is the head of the woman. So in between that, there's no parents, there's no children, there's no outsiders. That's the way that the hierarchy should go. God, husband, wife. Now there's gonna be relationships where the role seems to be like there's not a lot of gender specificity in it, right? Like you can do this and you can do that as a man, which is something a woman can also do. But when it comes to that hierarchy, the man should always have that confident role in being the leader. And that's something else that God is doing. He is working with Adam. He is waking Adam back up to stand in his rightful place. So allow him to have that role, because I'm guilty of that. I was a very dominant woman in the beginning of our relationship. Now that we have Christ in the front, I had to learn to stay in my lane. You know, it's a learning process because we've been doing things a certain way for so long, but everything has to be in decency and in order. Once you allow him to have his role where he's rightfully be, give him the opportunity to stand in that role, to be confident in that role, and all the things that you desire that you feel like is lacking in your marriage or in your relationship, trust me, it will be fulfilled. It will be placed there. You just have to back up, stay in your lane a little bit. By no means does this make you a slave and you just being told what to do all the time. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the order of things, everyone has to have their place. And if you're not walking in accordance to the way that God wants it to be, that's not you allowing God to lead you. That's you wanting to lead the relationship. So allowing him to be the head, and he also, with me being his helpmeet, he may come to me and ask, baby, how do you feel about this? Or, babe, you lead the prayer today. Or, babe, you handle this, which is a role that's technically his, but he's asking for my help with it because that's my job, to be a helpmeet. So once you're dealing with things in that order, in that fashion, you'll see everything will start to fall in place, fall in order without you even trying too hard. It will just fall in place. What do you say, babe?
We definitely see a big change, and it's working out.
Right. It's really nice out. It's a really nice day. You know, we're planting more fruits, even though it's not the season to get the. We want to do some watermelon. We want to do some mint. I think we had bought some lime. Get a couple of things out here instead of, having to continuously buy everything. Even though it's great to support, your farmers markets and stuff like that. When we want to have this fast or that fast, we want to have everything, right here readily available for us at home, so we'll know exactly what's in it. We would share with you guys that currently I'm doing the Esther's fast, and my husband is supporting me, by also doing a 3-day fast with me while we seek answers and wisdom from the Lord, and even strengthening our bond. So with the Esther's fast, you basically take no food, you only have water. So it gives you time to basically subject your flesh, put the flesh down for a second, because all the flesh wants to do is sin, to be honest with you. When you're dealing and operating directly with the Spirit, you'll learn so much more about yourself. And that's building your relationship with God, because that's what we're about, relationship with God. Not so much as religion, even though religion will probably give you the structure and the go-tos about the foundation of the laws and everything with God. It's really about the relationship with Him, because that's where it's a no judgment zone. That's just strictly with you and God. But we're doing a fast together to strengthen our bond, and also to go and seek answers from the Lord, petition with the Lord on things that we want answers to. So with that, we want to go ahead and close out with a prayer, and then we will see you guys back. We're still trying to figure out, what the Lord's will is as far as the basis of this channel, but we definitely know that He spoke to us in regards to speaking on the importance of having the union in the relationship or in the marriage. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.